Good after morning noon. It's 12 o'clock, 12:02 here on the west coast of the United States of America and the beautiful state of California. Although LRob, you're not in California, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That'd be great in baseball, and in fact, it'd be legendary. My name is Jamie Sweet here for Joe Glassford from Lakers Fast Break with our spotlight on the Lakerholics. That's a mouthful. And so I'd just like to welcome everybody to the show. LakerTom, LRob. We may have another Lakerholic here, which I'm really thrilled that we're getting some of the people from the blog on the show, which is kind of the whole notion. Hi, cool bro. You're first in the chat. So I give you a gold star for effort, I guess. I don't know. So today, there's only 3 things I'd like to talk about. Well, first off, hi, guys.
Hey, Jamie. How you doing?
I'm good. I was just cleaning up a 6-year-old vomit from a bed sheet. So, but it's all in the laundry. My wife's snuggling with the kids. She's doing just fine. We're all gonna make it. We're all gonna make it. So, but if I leave out of nowhere, you'll know why. If I suddenly disappear. There's 3 things I'd like to talk about today. One, the up 2-0 curse. Both 2-0 teams lost last night. The Knicks and the Timberwolves. Of course, we'll touch on the slowest moving glacier on planet Earth, also known as the Lakers head coaching search, and what we think about the news that we're basically going to draft Bronny James. I mean, it seems all but etched in stone. LRob, I'm going to throw it to you. Tom and I get to talk all the time, so I'm going to let you blather for a while first.
So, Lakers coaching search. Yeah, one would think that if you've decision to let your coach go if things don't progress as planned, which I'm sure the Lakers did, make an early decision that Darvin wasn't their guy, barring a strong playoff run, which didn't happen.
Excuse me just a second, Lee. Jamie is Michael says he's logged on, but nobody's.
He must be on the. Can you email him? No, he's here. There he is.
Okay.
I'm here finally.
There we go.
I missed the put your name box.
Oh.
It's all good, man. It's all good. You know what? It's nice to have. Look at this. There's 4 people from the Lakerholics blog. So if you out there think to yourself, man, blogging doesn't take you anywhere. Look where we are. We're 4 dudes who the only one of which I've ever met is LakerTom on the streets of San Francisco, and that was planned. It wasn't like I ran into him and I wasn't like, oh hey man, you like to party or anything like that. But anyway, Michael, welcome to the show. First time guest, long time viewer. As they say, we were just posing the 3 topics for today, and I was going to start with LRob, then we'll go to you, and then we'll go to Tom. 3 topics are the 2 up 2-0 curse in the playoffs, since both the Knicks and Timberwolves last night, both were up 2-0. In the Timberwolves case, it's I think a little bit more egregious because they were on their home floor, and the Nuggets came in and did exactly what the Timberwolves had done to them. Obviously, we'll talk about the glacial pace of the Lakers head coaching search, and then if we have any thoughts on the fact that it sounds like Bronny James is a surefire 2nd round draft pick for the Los Angeles Lakers at this point in time, with that's happening. So before you came on, LRob,
back,
huh?
He could wear that 5 on his back.
Sure, he'll get his pick of numbers, I'm sure. But we were just starting with LRob, so LRob, go ahead and pick up where you left off.
No problem. Hey, Michael, welcome. Good to see you.
Good seeing you too.
So I will say, you know what? I really don't have a problem with them taking their time. I mean, it's important to get it right. As much as we want to poke fun at them for not having it already figured out, I am probably in the minority that I didn't think Darvin Ham should have been fired, because I don't think there's somebody that's going to come in and significantly move the needle based upon what that team has. And I think consistency and cohesiveness is important. So you're bringing in a new voice. From everything that I've read, it appears that it's JJ's job to have. he wants, which I know zero about. And I don't think anyone else on how he'll handle things. But hey, why not? I mean, what the heck? I mean,
You know what? Okay, I just want to say, like, that is exactly how I feel like the Lakers approach the head coaching position. Like, you know what? Let's give this guy a shot. What could go wrong? And it's like,
so.
Well, he's not playing. He's not making baskets. That's one thing.
The one thing I did think about was Mark Jackson. I don't think Mark was on anyone's bench before he was hired, and he was brought in and I thought he did a very good job with Golden State. He related to the players.
Yep.
I think he unlocked Draymond.
Yes.
So he did some things that was different, and he brought a unique approach, and he was successful for a while with that approach. So maybe JJ can do something similarly. So that's what I'm hoping. Anybody else out there, I'm not excited about any of those guys. So that's where I'm at with the coaching search. I really think it's more important probably is to somehow get D'Angelo Russell to decide to stay a Laker and keep him, because if you lose him, trying to replace that scoring, I think will be very difficult. So
I agree. There's some interesting side points on that. We'll get to that in a minute. I'd like to hear Michael's thoughts on the head coaching search since we're on that topic. Michael.
Well,
thanks for joining us from Hawaii. We've got a whole, we started on the West Coast beat, but now we're like in the center. And to think that California is a centrist place is kind of a humorous thought for me. And then LRob, you're in Michigan, correct?
Yep, I'm in Detroit. Yes,
nice.
Sir.
My cousin lives in Ann Arbor, so not too far from there. I mean, not exactly close, but closer than I am from California.
Yeah, no, it's not that bad. Not too far.
Well, we're spread out all over the place.
We are. That's the beauty of being a Lakers fan, right? It's not like being a Charlotte Hornets fan, where if you leave Charlotte, you're alone. You're alone out there in the world. There's not a lot of buddies. You're not going to go to the Charlotte Hornets sports bar where they have the game, every game, all the game. Like that doesn't exist, I don't think, outside of Charlotte.
We have over 90 countries worth of fans that show up on the annual report for Lakerholics. It's just incredible. And the number of people that we have from places like the Philippines is astounding.
All right. So what are your thoughts on this all?
Well, I tell you what, I have not been wowed by really any of the candidates. JJ Redick, I mean, it's a huge roll of the dice, but you think about Steve Kerr, he didn't coach before either. He was in the front office for the Suns for a while, but he never actually coached.
True.
So it turned out pretty good for him. But then again, he had a championship roster in place, ready to win. So that helped him considerably.
On cheap contracts at the time that they then exponentially added to. And that's the other thing.
They so lucked into Durant. It was just
and they lucked into Kevin Durant. Yes. All of these things are very fortuitous.
Everything lined up properly for them when that happened. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe, that at some point there'll be a name that's brought up that I get excited about. Currently, it's like the whole, what the hell, just get a coach. And I think they need to do it pretty soon. I don't think they can wait to the last second to do it. They got to do something fairly quickly. They have to have a plan in place with the coach. You can't go out searching for. Right now, I read that we're shopping our first round pick. I don't know if you want to acquire players until you know who's going to be coaching them.
I couldn't agree more, Michael. I feel like everything about this situation is kind of hilarious. Somebody mentioned on the chat that Steve Kerr was an assistant under San Antonio. Under Popovich in San Antonio. I don't know that he was.
No, he wasn't. I double-checked on that.
He finished his career in San Antonio as a player, correct? Yes, that's what that was. So listen, I did. So Tom, go ahead and give your thoughts, and then I'll give my thoughts. You've been very quiet and patient for you, and so I appreciate that.
Well, here's the thing: when a coaching job becomes available, it's really tough because most of the good candidates already have jobs, you know, and so you're left with slim pickings, and you really are. Now,
it's literally people
every year. I think this year comes down to the basketball gods almost gift wrapping JJ Redick for the Lakers, because first you got Bud, you got all three of the main existing coaches with head coaching experience that we were considering are gone. Now we're obviously waiting for Ty Lue. That's the reason we're waiting. Otherwise,
it's not going to happen.
Otherwise, I believe we would sign Redick up right now because he appears to be, from everything that you read, the candidate that makes the most sense for the Lakers. And they keep mentioning his name even when they're mentioning we want an experienced coach.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of gambles with that. But the other side of it, too, is that they need to do what Golden State did, which was make sure that Kerr had a very experienced staff, you know, when he was coming in as a rookie head coach.
I think that's as big as question as who's going to be the coach. If they take JJ, they have to have a line on a really solid.
You need somebody like
a head assistant that's solid.
That's been a head coach. Yeah. Who knows the landscape, and probably other coaches. Here's the difference. The problem I see with it is that you got two guys in Adelman and Nori, who are basically the lead assistant coaches for the best two teams that are out there right now, other than, let's say, the Celtics. But there's a big difference between an assistant coach and a head coach. And it's that whole leadership, charisma, that star power that the head coach has that can really carry the thing. And I don't think that Darvin Ham got fired because of first-year coach mistakes. He got fired because he couldn't do the basic things that every coach, even if you're running in a kids league, every coach has to do, which is pick the right players to play and put the right combinations together and put the rotations together, and call the right timeouts, control the game, and do those basic ABCs of being a head coach. So I'm not afraid of a new head coach. Instead, I want somebody who's charismatic, who's going to be long-term, who's going to make players want to come to Los Angeles. We don't have a visionary in the front office or in the ownership group. And that we were counting to a certain extent. We were counting on Ham coming in, and they did all of the right things with Ham the one thing they didn't do right was letting him choose his own staff, because they should have required him to have, you know, a veteran lead assistant in there. But the Lakers basically have an opportunity right now, because the one candidate who stands out among all the best, as soon as Ty Lue situation is resolved, and I don't have a problem with Ty Lue. If he somehow breaks the situation with the Clippers and decides that he wants to be the Lakers head coach, I'd be fully in support of that. I think he'd be the best choice. And I think that's the only reason the Lakers are waiting right now. We're not waiting for anybody else to pop up. They're not waiting for the guy from Portland to come in there and so forth. They're waiting for Ty Lue. And if he's gone, then they're going to move for the best candidate they have available. And I happen to feel that that's JJ Redick.
All right, so this is my take on it. I feel like since Rob Pelinka has come on the job, and this is and we talked about this last week, Tom and I, and so I'm just going to quickly put it back in a box just to kind of throw it out there. There's a common theme here with the Laker organization as a whole, and it's Rob Pelinka right now. It's Rob Pelinka making poor trades. It's Rob Pelinka trading good players for bad. It's Rob Pelinka not valuing draft picks the way he should. Earlier in his career, we'll see how that works out this summer at the
letting players walk,
for absolutely nothing, like for nada, zilch, zero. And you could argue that it worked, right? Because we won a championship in 2020 under circumstances that will never again be replicated. Granted, regardless, it counts. It's up on the wall. We're tied with the Celtics, which is really all that I think the four of us truly care about at this point. Since we're out of the playoffs, we just don't want Boston to win this season. Like anybody else, I'd kind of rather it not be the Nuggets, just because I now hate their fans so very much because of their insipid and vapid chant. But but that's beside the point. Even if the Nuggets were to repeat by beating Boston, I'd be fine with that. I could go to the summer at content and at peace. But I don't feel that enough pressure is being applied to the lack of importance that the current Laker front office, headlined and led by Rob Pelinka and emboldened and empowered by Jeannie Buss, who I don't really give a lot of credit or negativity towards. Like, I think she basically she's got a stamp. Somebody comes and she yes or knows it, and that's like, she's not out there like, as you said, Tom. She's not like a visionary.
Yeah.
And what owner really truly is at this point? Like, I couldn't.
Well,
I wouldn't say,
like the guy from Phoenix obviously thinks he is.
Thinks being the operative word.
Right. Yeah. Right.
How did that work out for him this
year?
Yeah,
his vision is just.
We've got a lot of guys. There's a lot of owners like that.
He pays a lot of money for his vision.
The guy in Dallas is the same thing, you know.
Yeah, Cuba. There's a good handful of them now. So and it could also be argued that Jeannie is out. Her lack of vision has worked.
No, she's not her dad. She's not her dad.
I think the problem with Jeannie. I think the problem with Jeannie is she has a vision. It's her dad's vision, and times have changed so rapidly.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah, it's not her dad's league anymore.
Anyway, I feel like Vogel got fired the season after AD and LeBron played, I think, 30 and 40 games respectively, or 40 and 50 games respectively. It was a very low number.
And Pelinka gave him a terrible roster.
And he gave him the AARP roster, which we all, to a person, I think, were like, there's going to be problems with this roster. You can't have Trevor Ariza, Carmelo Anthony. I forget the other old guy that was on there. There was another even older guy than Ariza. And I was just like, this is bad. What's his name? Your best 15th man ever. He was on the roster. Just so many old guys that were just like coattail riding to that next three-peat.
And he's gone around and reversed it completely now, because what he's done now is he's taken two superstars and he's left entirely free the gap of, like, semi-stars. Superstars, and instead we go all the way down to our third best player is D'Angelo Russell or Austin Reeves.
Yeah, but D'Angelo Russell is
making $12 and $17 million. We don't have any of the guys making $20 million. Yeah. We don't have any of the guys making $30 million. It's like we just decided that all we need is
D'Angelo Russell. He has been an all-star, so I mean, let's not make it seem like he hasn't accomplished anything.
True, but money pretty well determines what the value of the players are, and you don't even have a second player making.
Tell that to Naz Reid. No, that's absurd. Tell that to Naz Reid. There's a bunch of guys who are underplayed. Caruso. There's a whole list of guys who should be paid more than what they're getting paid right now. The middle class of the NBA.
We don't have a single player over 30 other than LeBron.
Yes, I know that. That's.
It's just like a huge.
I was posting during the game. There's
experience and quality of play.
There's a list out there of all the elite and superstar level players that are left. None of them are over 30, except for I forget now. I had my list.
A lot of guys making $40 million.
I think the bigger point of Rob Pelinka mismanaging the roster. I think we all can agree on that.
Shall we vote on that? All in favor of being replaced? Raise your hand.
Consistently since he tore down the championship team and didn't give those guys a chance to.
No, that's not going to change. That's the problem. We could talk. We might as well talk about LeBron becoming the player coach.
I had what I thought was a great joke about that. The player coach was banned from the CBA in 1984-85, so it's not possible. Right. I was like, can't we pay LeBron $50 million as a coach, and he takes the vet minimum as a player? Isn't that just the best possible workaround for everybody? He still gets paid. If he decides to quit, it doesn't affect. He doesn't have to retire. His salary cap is just the vet minimum. Doesn't affect.
What I love is Aaron Scott, the worst coach in Laker history, making any suggestion.
Oh yeah, he made that suggestion originally. Make Braun the coach. I was like, could that happen? I was like, oh no, that got nixed in the mid '80s. So as a workaround for cap issues, I'm sure. Anyway, I'm with LRob. I don't, and Michael. Everybody said the same thing. We're saying the same thing, right? There's not a guy, there's not a person out there that's like.
I'm not saying the same thing.
I know you're okay.
I think JJ Redick is the best candidate that we've seen in the last since.
Tom's got his gasoline truck full of JJ Redick Kool-Aid, and he's huffing it off the tap.
But I haven't heard Tom give a real reason why he believes in JJ. He's a vision.
Tom, what is your reason?
Give me something. Give me some hope. I'm going on hope alone, Tom. I'm just going on.
Okay. Take a look at what set aside Pat Riley and Phil Jackson. First off, they were really, really smart. Those are guys who really understood the game, all of the nuances about it. And they had the ability to translate that into motivational effort for the players. So the players wanted to play with them. You're talking about coaches who were so respected that they could get Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, players like that to actually play team ball rather than hero ball, which is their natural tendency. Redick strikes me as having that same sort of charisma and star power that those other guys had. I've watched all 7 of his podcasts with LeBron. I went back and watched some of the stuff on his other podcasts, and I don't agree with everything he says. He's kind of like I am in the sense that when you talk a lot, you got a lot to cover up. You know, it's hard to be right all the time, and you're going to be wrong a lot of times.
There it is. I think we found the reason time.
Show's over, but we got it.
A lot.
But here's the point: when you look at what JJ is saying, and you listen to him talking to LeBron, I just get goosebumps because I think if he was our coach, you have a merger there between a coach on the floor, which is LeBron, and a coach on the bench, which I think JJ could be just terrific. That you've got somebody who's they're going to make some mistakes, but if you put a couple of good experienced coaches on that staff, you can get by those things because JJ is smart. He's not going to pull any of the Darwin Ham type stuff. I trust his judgment in players a lot more than I did Ham's or Vogel's. You know, I mean, we need a coach who's going to play the right people. And for the last 4 years, our coaches haven't been doing that. They've been playing the wrong damn players. Everybody says it. We all complain about it. And that's where you start. I don't even care if you're picking players, going down to the gym on Saturday and you're picking the players. You can tell when guys don't pick the right players, and nobody wants to play with those guys. I mean, it's just a disaster.
Now, the problem with your rationale is everything the reason you want JJ is because you're knocking the other coaches. If the other coaches didn't do this, JJ will do this.
The other coaches, you're talking about Vogel and Ham?
Yeah, it's not anything
he's talking about the current pool of coaches that we're picking from.
Yeah, I've listened to Adelman talk. I've listened to the guy from the Timberwolves.
He does a good podcast.
You choose. There's just such a huge difference between being a head coach and being an assistant coach,
or just having a podcast.
For me, it's like you're not going to really know until they get in the hot seat. I mean, Darvin had a reputation as a player's coach.
Yep.
And then he got in there. The heat got cranked up on him, and he lost the locker room.
They wouldn't run through the wall for him anymore because of some of the things he did.
Yeah. So it's the debate is kind of. I mean, again, there's no clear cut wow for me, but you're not going to know for sure until they get hired.
Well, it's every one of them is a gamble unless you're. I mean, even hiring Phil Jackson the second time around. Look what happened when they hired Phil Jackson the third time around in New York. You know,
Rob and Jeannie's biggest mistake was when we did have the opening. Ty Lue was available. They didn't want to pay him. They just didn't want to pay him, and that
cheapness of the coaching thing is just so. It's Alex Caruso. It's Ty Lue.
Yeah.
Worst summer ever.
Although they have said this year they would pay the price.
Yeah, finally.
You know? But you can't help but feeling that Jeannie was going, oh man, I'm glad Boone got a coach. I'm glad that he took that job with the Suns. You know, now we don't have to pay $10 million a year. Wow, it's $5 million more for me and my 5 siblings. You know.
I think this is one of our chatters, Kurt Affair, who's a regular around here. Nice to have you on the chat this morning, Kurt, or afternoon. This it's whatever time it is. I don't know why JJ would leave great podcasting ESPN gig to be the nightmare of being under the microscope coaching the Lakers.
Oh, he wants to coach.
I think that this is a very astute point, and a couple other chatters have made it to varying degrees, none as loquaciously as that, and which is why I put it up there. I have to kind of agree with this. Unless, I mean, there's 2 things. One, I want any job, right? I miss being in an NBA locker room around all these sweaty, smelly dudes so much.
He misses the competition.
I need to get back to that reality. And this sitting next to people in the broadcast booth, you know, going through production meetings, I'd rather be coming up with game plans and strategies. Okay, I get that.
He's actually said that, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm sure every single head coach.
Paraphrased exactly what he said.
I'm sure Stan Van Gundy says that. I'm sure Jeff Van Gundy says that. That's why they keep throwing their hats in the ring to coach teams, whether they get the job or not.
Nobody's reaching for their hats.
That's not the point. The point is that there's a lot of people.
Coach, you better say that.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be like, I don't know, this being on TV is pretty good, but if they want to pay me $20 million, I'll change jobs. Like nobody's hiring that guy. So it has right. It's like a player, you know, when the coach is in trouble. What is the player going to say? Yeah, our coach is terrible. I don't know why he's got. Of course, he's going to be like, oh no, coach isn't the problem. We just need to play harder, and then be like, oh, I didn't see that coming when he gets fired. You know, that's
what Darwin says.
That's what they all say. It's go back through the annals of history, and you will say that that's what everybody has said every time somebody got fired. The Dwight Howard one being the most hilarious and egregious, because that was just amazing happenstance when Stan Van Gundy got fired from Orlando. Not days after that amazing interview they both gave. I just think that there's so much behind the scenes when it comes to being a part of the Laker organization at this point, because of internally inflicted wounds by the front office, that the job really does come with an asterisk. Now, that's not to say we're going to end up with the worst candidate simply because good candidates don't want it. Ty Lue did want to come here. He just got turned off because we cheaped out on him.
Right.
Same as we cheaped out on a lot of things that summer. That was the summer of inexplicable cheapness. And
well,
we
don't have a owner with deep pockets,
and we're still recovering from that summer to this day. We are still recovering from that summer right now as we speak.
Yeah.
It will linger on until LeBron's gone, I feel like. So with that in mind, I do think that is the thing. Now, obviously, JJ Redick is throwing his hat in the ring. He's open to the idea, whether or not, you know, whatever his motivations are, it doesn't matter. He's a potential candidate for the job, and so we have to treat him as such. Personally, of the list left, I would honestly go for Kenny Atkinson and then try to entice JJ Redick as being the lead assistant so that he could actually learn on the job a little bit, but without having to make all the decisions. And if he turns that down, I think that's as much an indication of like his motivation for the job as anything else. It means you don't want to put in the work, right? If somebody goes, look, okay, we love that you are enthusiastic. We think you've said some really intelligent things on your podcast. It seems like you've got a great rapport with LeBron. We would like to make you the lead assistant under Kenny Atkinson and if we fire him next year, which let's be honest, let's be honest, that's like a 50-50.
We're gonna make you the lead assistant next to Bozo. You want that job, man?
But do you see what I'm saying? Like if he turns that down, I shall only deign to be a head coach with no experience, and I shan't put in any of the work.
He's got enough now to get a head coaching job somewhere.
Okay. Well, he already turned down one. So that makes me think he's a little bit of a.
Turned it down. I don't know. We don't know if he turned it down or just didn't get chosen.
No, I'm pretty sure he was offered the Charlotte Hornets job and he turned it down. He said he would rather.
I haven't read that anywhere.
No, he said he would rather coach his 9-year-old sons in their rec league.
Oh, then the Hornets.
I believe so. Or maybe that was to be an assistant.
No, nobody would say that.
No, I take it back. That was to be an assistant on the Boston Celtics coaching staff.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
But this is my point. So you don't want to put in the time. You don't want to put in the work.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I mean,
you don't.
If you had enough talent and moxie,
how many people have you hired with no experience in your life?
Job, you're not going to take a step back and take an assistant's job. That's
not a step back if you've never had any of the jobs before.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is based upon what you could potentially do.
I agree with Tom. I don't look at that as a negative. Hey, if you think you are a head coach, I mean, and why, and you think you can get a head coaching position, why settle for an assistant coach position? I can appreciate that. He could have been.
Do you think Frank Vogel would come to take a lead assistant job underneath JJ Redick? No way. That would be killing his future chances for a head coaching job.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michael. What was that, Michael? Sorry.
I was going to say, if you don't have the confidence, why would you even consider the Lakers job? It's the hardest job in sports.
Yeah.
So he has to have the confidence. That doesn't mean he's going to be good, but he has to be confident.
Right.
I mean, confidence.
There are a lot of guys who wouldn't go after the Lakers job just because of what Michael said.
It's a tough gig. It really is. I mean,
look at how
they fire people.
That's what I'm saying. You could be the lead assistant, and you basically have the job already. You just got to wait a year or so. So anyway,
Kenny Atkinson, I've been following some of the reports on people that have taken a look at Atkinson's offense and so forth, and it's worse than Ham's. He basically runs pick and rolls with no adjustments for anybody and a whole lot of isolation scoring. I want to see somebody run. The whole thing with Steve Kerr and what he did with the Warriors is what I'm hoping that we see something like that happen with JJ with the Lakers.
Of course,
because I want to see. First off, I want to see a coach who's number one going to bring us into the modern age. You are not going to be able to win a championship unless you get a certain type.
I'm sorry. I really have to stop. That is what you've said when we hired Luke Walton. That is what you said when we hired Frank Vogel, and that is what you said when we hired Darvin Ham.
Well, I never thought Darvin Ham was a modern coach. Never thought Frank Vogel was a modern coach.
I will go and find your post. I will find your 17-page article on Lakerholics. I'm finding it right now.
You can't shoot 33s in today's game and expect to be able to hold your own.
Yes, you can.
Not when everybody else is shooting 40 to 53s.
All right, we're moving on from this topic. It's obvious that it doesn't matter what we think about it anyway, because the Lakers are going to hire whoever they hire. It's probably going to be JJ Redick, much to my chagrin and much to Tom's delight. I will find that article where you talk about how Darvin Ham is the perfect coach for the Lakers to modernize their offense. And
I go for that for every guy. This was back when he was telling AD to take 5 threes a game and so forth.
I don't know.
Listen. I'm a Laker fan, so when they hire a coach, even if it wasn't the choice that I have, one of the things that I always try to do is to look to the positive side and look for the reasons why that was a good decision. And I've supported
every. Which is why I love the quote you made earlier in the show about when you say a lot of things, you got to walk a lot of it back.
Well, I'm not going to not have an opinion at a point in time, and I'm not going to change my opinion based upon what happens, whether that denigrates or it supports my opinion, I'm just going to call it like I see it. That's the way it is.
I just say one last thought on the coaching deal.
Please. If anybody has anything they'd like to add before we move on.
He brought up Phil Jackson, and to me, Phil Jackson's biggest strength was he stood up to superstars. Yes. And he said, you know what? I don't care what you think. This is the way we need to do this.
Yep.
And that is not something I can see in Kerr. To me, and I don't know, maybe I missed it, but I thought the Lakers had a decent offense. I thought their offensive rating was very good, and that wasn't their biggest problem this year. But hey, take the ball out of LeBron's hands. Are you going to be the coach that tells LeBron, you know what, LeBron, you can't, you're 39, you're 40 years old, you can't do all of this and be gassed in the fourth and take possessions off on defense. No, I need you to be more of an impactful defensive player. We got enough guys who can score. Rui can score. If D'Lo's here, he can score. Reeves can score. But those guys aren't as good defensively. Can you focus on defense? Can you put more of your emphasis on – is the coach going to tell him that? Is Steve Kerr going to sit there and tell him that? So if
Steve Kerr probably no.
Tell him that.
Well, I see LeBron. I see LeBron as one of the reasons
what we need in a coach.
I see LeBron as one of the reasons why we don't shoot more threes. I mean,
it is.
He has the ball in his hands. We have a drive and kick offense. We don't run plays for 3-point shooting. No. And as long as LeBron's going to play, he's going to play his way. I would like him to give up the ball more as well, but he's played 21 years one way, and I just don't see him changing. He's going to do it. He's going to do what he does. So,
in the last Mind the Game podcast, JJ put out that what LeBron ought to do is just become a spot up 3-point shooter, and he could play for 6 more years.
It's not going to happen.
We could.
Here's the thing that everybody seems to ignore, which is the most important thing about it. The coach. The coach makes a difference. I mean, Jamie's laughing, but the truth
of the matter I'm laughing at this comment.
You either believe or don't believe that the coach makes a difference. And in the NBA, the coach still makes a difference. Even though you got teams that can win despite the coach, it makes a difference.
I don't know.
And it changes everything. The whole gist of the locker room, the whole concept of momentum, the whole sense of feeling that the team is going in the right direction, getting everybody on the same page, learning how to treat everybody a little differently because everybody needs to be treated differently, but you need to have a consistency of how you coach and how you treat people. And I think that we too often think that it's just the players. It's not just the players. And one of the biggest mistakes that the Lakers have made is never being willing to pay what a coach deserves, not recognizing and realizing how important the coach is, that it is a difference maker. And this is for a franchise that had Pat Riley and Phil Jackson. How the hell can you come up with that as your governing principle when you go out recruiting for coaches? So we don't need another 2 or 3 year coach and then another 2-3 year coach after that. Get somebody who's going to be here for 10, 12 years.
I thought that's what we got Darvin Ham for. I mean, that's what everybody said, right? Everybody said when we hired Darvin Ham, oh, here's the coach of the future. He's going to have a long.
No, you didn't do it. You sure don't keep him. At least that's one thing we've done right.
This is where I guess the way I look at things as a human being is that it's generally driven by empirical evidence. The empirical evidence in this case shows us that Rob Pelinka scapegoats his coaches. LeBron and
we don't own the team. Jeannie owns the team. Jeannie owns the team, so
and you can she and Rob scapegoat the coach.
But you can't fire Jeannie. You can fire Rob.
And you can hire Bob Myers.
You almost can't fire Rob.
You could hire Bob Myers, who I would vastly prefer in the position.
Oh, listen, I'd vote for Bob Myers right now.
Me too.
No problem.
All in favor?
Yeah.
All right.
That would be the second half of the perfect redo. Bob Myers. Right. Well, they could also sell the team to. They could sell the team to somebody really rich who will let us spend $300,000 in luxury taxes.
JSJ, let's not leave it up to prayer. Let's leave it up to intelligence. The coaching staff, the NBA basketball doesn't work that way. Nothing really. I don't think much.
No, I've prayed a lot. I've prayed a lot of times and not having.
Right. I feel like that's more of like a tornado, natural disaster. Somebody in the
you just got to put it to the basketball gods. You just have to pick the right gods.
I mean,
that's more priorities than the Lakers.
That's right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If that's your kick, let's leave that level of.
Well, listen. I mean, we got all these coaches that we could have hired. We could have hired Bud, but fortunately for the Suns, he got him. Then we could have hired Kidd. Well, he got an extension, and we could have hired, you could go down the line. All
everybody you named, their previous fan base have wanted them fired.
Yes, exactly. Every single one. I know.
That's the problem, Big Bull. That's the problem.
Multiple franchises,
because all you get are the guys who don't have jobs.
That's right. This is a great 9 coaches in 21 years. 7 of them fired and walked away from Lou and Spo. All right, listen, let's move on. Who likes the idea of the Lakers drafting Bronny James in the second round? Yeah, the stunning.
I said it right from the very beginning that that's going to screw Bronny's career up to tie it with LeBron's, man. And
he really shouldn't play on the same team. He really shouldn't.
He shouldn't, man. As a father, I think LeBron has come around to starting to think that too, because he's really backed off of this whole thing.
You know what I thought was really funny was Austin Reeves made that same comment in an interview a couple months back.
Yep.
And I don't know how LeBron took that comment, but it's true. I mean, it's going to be a hard deal for him to play, especially LA,
Really?
Especially in LA.
I mean, one thing if it was Cleveland, right? It'd be different if he was in Cleveland, right? Because he's royalty in the state of Ohio. I would imagine. So they would be far more forgiving. But
now here you got a million Kobe haters, Kobe lovers that will never accept LeBron.
And haters. No, there's equal. There's all of them. They're all out there.
If he's smart, he'll go back to school one more year at least.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because why push it at that?
He averaged 4 points a game at USC.
He'll make a lot more money, nil money next year if he can stay healthy.
And just didn't have a role, right? You didn't. What was his role on USC? He was like the 10th man, the ninth, eighth man, ninth man, and he just came back from the cardiac thing that happened last summer. Like, if there's anything that I would implore children of anybody under 25 to do at this moment in human history, slow down. Slow down. There is much life ahead of you. Learn some skills. Go to school. Have some experiences that aren't on a device. Do those things, and then jump into the rat race. Because once you're in, there is no getting out. There's no getting out of the rat race. So slow down a little bit. Enjoy your life.
I moved to Hawaii. I got out of the rat race. I moved.
Yeah, but it took you how many years did it take you, Michael?
To get to a lot. I've been here since 2006.
Right.
So.
Okay.
I must confess, I have not seen 1 minute of Bronny James in college, so I can't really give a qualified opinion of his game. You can sometimes find gems in the second round, and maybe didn't do that great on a college team. So I'll leave that up to the evaluators. I think the real question is, if that's something LeBron is pushing for, do you tell him no and risk possibly losing him?
No.
Is it worth it?
Lakers have told him yes.
And if that's LeBron's demand, do you draft him? To me, if that's the price you pay for keeping LeBron, you have to do it.
Well, I read that he's backed away from that.
Before 55. Somebody's going to draft him in the second round before he gets to 55, man.
Maybe. What was that, Michael?
I've read that LeBron's backed away from that now, that he's not really pushing for that. So if he wants to win, he needs
we could have used a center more this year than Bronny.
Find some players that can help you win.
Yeah, if he wants to win, he wouldn't be playing this summer.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely right, LRob. And neither would AD. I would love
part of the legend,
I mean, I don't think that he'll go out for Team USA. I think that he'll be, kind of like how. I mean, I say this, and then we're going to see him playing 35 minutes a game, shooting half the shots.
So. He shouldn't have to.
Well, you would hope that, especially given the young man talent on that roster. But
although when you look at the top 10 players in the NBA, the USA is
I shouldn't say if he wants to win. That's not fair. So I would say if he wants to do all of those things, and I think each time you do something to get Bronny, play in this Olympic, each one lessens your chance of getting that chip. Now I'm sure LeBron's mentality is he can win it all with all of those things. So I'll refrain from that. But I based on my experience and watching guys play. Yeah. I mean, I just seen a young man, Austin Reeves, come back from competing all summer, and he was
bad. He was bad for the first 2 months of the season. He was bad.
Yet our astute Lakerholics blame coach for playing him. I'm like, I would have benched him. I mean, he was zero.
He was zero.
And that's a result of playing all those minutes in the summers. But now LeBron and AD can go out and do it. God bless them. Hopefully they'll come in and and they'll be able to compete at the same level when it counts for the Lakers. But I'm very skeptical of that. So we'll see.
I mean, I have to give Austin Reeves a lot of credit for his overall season of basketball in which he played in all 82 games. One of a handful of players that was able to do that this season. And that was after his Team USA basketball experience. I do agree, though, that it really seemed to hold him back up until the calendar year turned over. Once we hit January, I thought he started to look more and more like the Austin Reeves we've kind of seen. But I also kind of thought he had a pretty disappointing playoffs. I thought that he turned in like a B. Like it was a B minus playoffs for me for Austin Reeves.
Well, I thought he got hurt by the change in the refereeing that all of a sudden happened.
Yeah, but then I mean, if we're all gonna like lambast the coach for not making adjustments, players got to make adjustments too. Stop fishing, stop fishing for fouls. Just shoot a shot.
Yeah, but it was just a different game. All of a sudden, they just decided that we're gonna call this playoff type basketball, even though we're not in the playoffs.
But they did it like in January or February, early February at the latest, and so there was time for everybody to kind of realize, they're calling it rougher.
Listen, but a lot of it, they still are going to have to work out exactly what is inconsequential contact. I mean, my God, some of the inconsequential contact is ridiculous.
To bring it back to Bronny James, I am fine, I guess.
Go back to college, Bronny.
I would. That's to me the most for him. And this has nothing to do with the Lakers. For him, I think you would do yourself a world of good going back to college, seeing if you can crack that starting lineup, seeing if you can have a 10, 15 point per game average and still bring the defensive intensity, because his rep, for those who aren't aware right now, doesn't really have a jump shot, better at defense than anything else.
Yeah, but look at those genes, man.
Can pass the ball.
You can't ignore the genes. That's what these teams are thinking in the second round.
Sure, you can't ignore the genes, but I mean, in and of itself, the genes aren't showing me anything in college. Let's put it that way. Is he going to suddenly become a decent? Is he going to be at least as good as Scottie Pippen Jr.? We don't know. Scottie Pippen Jr. barely played. So
my big worry is just that this whole thing could hurt him. This whole thing could hurt him from developing into the player that he could be.
I mean, I guess. Listen, then we should have the same concerns about JJ Redick, right? If we're going to worry that his poor psyche is going to be hurt by the intense pressure, then don't hire those kind of people. Don't pick those kind of people. Don't pick people who you don't think can handle the pressure.
How did we get into that from Bronny?
Because it's the same logic, right? The logic of
logic. Bronny is a kid.
JJ Redick's a kid as a coach.
Bronny's a high school kid. Just got out of high school, man.
Whatever. I'm just saying that if you don't think,
I'm not worried about JJ Redick's not being able to handle the Lakers' job.
No, he's got all that hair product. He'll probably be fine. Anyway, let's move on. Anybody else got anything else they want to add about Bronny before we move on?
Not really.
I mean, I'm more concerned if the Lakers. There was a part of me that was a little bit worried that they were so worried about losing LeBron that they would consider using the 17th pick in the draft on him.
No, they're not going to do that.
Which would be the definition of insanity, right? Like everybody thinks that would be ludicrous, crazy, and completely. Just no.
I'd use the 17th pick on Eddie.
Eddie Izzard?
No, the center.
Edie, Purdue center.
Oh, yeah, the dude for Purdue. Okay. Edie, sure, whatever. People are still the chat, just for what it's worth. The chat is still blowing up on the whole coaching debate. I'd like to welcome Joe Sore to the chat. Sorry, Joe, I didn't notice you were there. Mix it up a little bit. Zach Eddie, Zach. Thank you, Kurt. This is how it looks. Edie, a day, whatever. I'm afraid of every trade Rob Pelinka makes now.
It sounds like we're going to make a trade on draft day. I mean,
we could.
We've been promised that we'll get a coach before draft day.
I think that. I mean,
that's 7 weeks away, guys.
I'm hopeful that we'll have a coach by the end of the NBA Finals. Like that would be great.
I'd like to see.
Let's be honest.
Ty Lue needs to sign his extension next week, so we can resolve this whole thing, and we can get a coach, and we can then start thinking
Does
about.
Does anybody really think they're waiting for Ty Lue? I mean,
they are. Of course, they are. There's no other reason to wait.
Yeah, but the Clippers aren't going to fire him. So what are they waiting for?
They're waiting for him to sign a year.
Right. At best, he'll go into the season as a lame duck, or at worst, rather, for Ty Lue, he'll go in as a lame duck coach, right? They won't figure out an extension like Kerr, right? Kerr didn't have his extension until the middle of the season, and it didn't affect the Warriors at all.
Well, the Lakers have to get some. They're not going to go making decisions on trades without having a coach in place by the draft. So we've got until June 23rd or something like that.
Of course, the way Rob trades, maybe be good that we didn't get a coach until the season started. If we're going to delay our trades.
Well, I don't know. Hopefully we're going to do the same thing when the coach is going to be involved in the decision making.
We're announcing the coach on media day.
So basically, you hope that you got a coach who's got to make better decisions, helping Pelinka than Ham did. Ham supposedly approved all of those moves. Now, some of those moves turned out great, and some of them didn't turn out so great. So, but the problem is you're always dealing with when you're trying to hit a home run with a minimum salary player. It's you're not going to bat 2 out of 3.
Well, that's not the coach's fault. The roster has multiple flaws, and it's actually, honestly, it's. I think that the Lakers as an organization have really struggled to adapt to all of the CBAs since about 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. Anything that basically made it so the lure of Los Angeles, right, was no longer really a consideration. And I think that, I'm of the opinion that those days are gone. Every time somebody's like, oh,
it just depends on the person.
This guy grew up in Lancaster. He's an LA guy. He's gonna wanna be a Laker so bad. I'm like, get out of here with that BS. Like
it's been the front office and the owners, the short pockets of the shallow pockets of the owners, and the inconsistencies of the front office make it very difficult. They offset a lot of the benefit of being in Los Angeles.
All right, so somebody just asked this question, and I wanted to touch on the D'Lo situation before we take it out of here. I don't think any of us are any of us changing. What are your guys' real quick? Let's do the D'Lo thing, then we'll talk about who you guys want to see when the playoff series is still going on. So I learned something the other day. If D'Lo walks, we are not left with nothing. There is an exception we get if he signs with another team. It's a little over $12 million.
Just the MLE, and we only get that depending on where we are on the salary cap.
But that's where we are on the salary cap once he walks is that $12 million, and we don't have that if he picks up his option. Is basically how it works out, because that puts us over the first apron. And the same with LeBron. If LeBron, he'll pick up his. I wish he would pick up his. Option,
but they can get rid of Max Christie and stay under the first apron,
and still get that full 12 mil. I don't think then great. Then let Max walk. Because obviously the last coaching regime didn't see really fit to play him.
There's a story that they want to keep Max.
So I hope so. I
think he's got potential. He does.
Yeah.
I hate this. What drives me crazy about the Lakers is this idea that
flushing every roster out of the entire locker room.
They have the idea that win now doesn't involve young talent. It's a young man's game.
Yeah,
you can't. It's actually
we only have young men.
Well, but
that's our problem with getting young men that are minimum salary players, and they
are That's right. We're getting all the young men nobody else wanted, and we're like, maybe
instead of old minimum salary players, we now get young minimum salary players, which means that they're just as cheap, but they probably don't play as well because they don't have as much experience.
I think this is keep Max Ham, didn't utilize him. I think this is partially true. I think that Max didn't do a great job distinguishing himself on the defensive end, or with like small things that you can do to like make yourself indispensable to a head coach, right? Like box out, rebound, fight hard through screens. Max just kind of like was out there. I'm not going to take that away from him. I thought he was one of our better 3-point shooters by percentage, if not by volume. And I think that he has a lot of room to grow. And I think with the right coach, you could maybe unlock a little bit more out of Max Christie. Now, having said that, I would much rather have $12 million to spend on free agents than Max Christie. So
So you're in favor of letting D'Lo walk?
No, I think I honestly, if the best of all worlds would be if both D'Lo and LeBron simply opted in. If they didn't opt out, sign a more money extension. If they tried to let the Lakers keep themselves under that second apron so they have a little bit of wiggle room, keep the core together. I think the one guy you have to really aggressively choose to look to trade is Hachimura, because he's young enough, and with Vando, assuming Vando's healthy, and assuming that Reeves and D'Lo and LeBron and AD are all on the team, and that we are going to pursue a center, there's not a starting spot for him. And for that money, you need to be getting – I feel like you need to have a starter. Anything over 15 mil and you're coming off the bench is a luxury. I really don't think.
Well, are you keeping D'Lo or not?
I would like. I just said I would like for him to opt in, and LeBron to opt in.
You know, there's a way.
Then they can negotiate multi-year extensions over the course of the year.
Well, I hope what he doesn't do is opt out, because if he doesn't, we want him to keep that option. We don't want him to exercise any option. You know, if they do the player option, great, but don't decline the player option, because basically there's a way to sign and trade him. You could negotiate with him and say, listen, I'll tell you what, we will agree that we will either sign and trade you. We'll give you a new contract, 3 years with a player option on a third year, and we'll pay you, let's say, $21 million for those 2 years. Okay, we'll either give you a contract for that, or we'll get you a sign and trade for that.
What do you guys think about keeping D'Lo, LRob?
Don't decline your option so that you're a free agent, where we automatically now deal.
You know, I've heard Joe on some of the other podcasts, and I agree with him about keeping the roster together and running it back. I think D'Lo, I don't think you can get a replacement for him with the money you'll have. So I don't know.
He's
like I'm saying, if I don't think it makes sense for. I mean, you got to do a handshake deal so D'Lo understands that. Which you know what, I'm opting out, and I'm saying, Lakers, pay me if you want to keep me. If I'm him,
that's what I would do too.
I'm not taking no low pay. I'm sorry.
We can't let guys walk for nothing.
I'm not
players
giving
for
up prime years, and if somebody's gonna pay me 25, I'm not taking 21 from the Lakers. Why?
Why should he? Yeah, exactly.
Right. So get your money, D'Lo. If the Lakers don't want to pay you, go somewhere else and get your value.
That's right. I mean, athletes have such a small window.
Yeah, and LeBron's going to do the same thing.
LeBron's going to do the same thing.
You know what?
LeBron can actually get a 3-year contract.
Sacrifices owners. You own a professional team. Pays that man.
So, what do you think, Michael? D'Lo, yay?
I want to keep D'Lo. We either have to sign and trade him or keep him. We don't. Yeah. There's nobody out there that's better that we can afford. even if he walks. I mean, even with the 12 mil, you're not going to get a player as good as D'Lo.
Definitely not.
You're not going to get a guy who shoots 8 threes a game and hits 40% of them.
Yeah. So it's important that we either. Now here's the problem with the sign and trade. The people that are rumored to have some interest in D'Lo wouldn't have to do a sign and trade.
No,
they have the cap space to sign him outright.
But they might want to use that on somebody more important.
Well, you look at the Magic, for instance. They might want him. They have room to sign him outright, and that's their biggest issue is outside shooting. They don't have any really good shooters on that team, so we might end up having to just sign him to keep him. We may not even be able to sign and trade him, because why would the Magic send us anything if they can just sign him, So
well, you can include picks and ask for DeJounte. You can include picks and ask for Jonathan Isaac back.
They're going to cut Jonathan Isaac.
They're not going to cut Jonathan Isaac.
Oh yeah, he's unguaranteed.
No way. He's one more year on his contract.
His contract is not guaranteed. He's making 17 mil, playing 16 minutes a game. They're going to cut him. Now they may renegotiate for something lower. They may negotiate for something lower, but they're going to cut him out of that 17 mil because he's not playing enough.
They started him in the playoffs, Michael.
Well, I hope that's true, Mike.
I'd
like to trade him. I'd like to trade for him.
Would you trade Hachimura for Isaac straight up? No pick.
Straight up. No, I'd give him a pick and a swap.
I would not. No, he's not worth it.
He's an
elite defender. The reason why his contract is unguaranteed, he went 2 years in a row without playing.
And 11 games.
When he came back, he played 11 games.
Right.
You know, he's going to hit the market as a free agent, and we can sign him as a mid-level.
Listen, I would love a guy like Isaacs on the team. I think that would. I don't think. Other than Valanciunas, I don't think there's a center out there that can move the needle for the Lakers.
But he's not a center. He's a
Valanciunas,
and his superpower is guarding.
He's been playing backup center a lot in the playoffs.
Yeah.
No, Valanciunas. So it's because the notion right now, and this is what I love about the NBA playoffs, is that somehow everything we're supposed to do gets changed because one team has a little bit of success. And oh my gosh, everybody, whatever you thought before, stop what you're doing and do this thing now.
Well, that happens every year. It happens every year.
I'm always just like, oh, God. You know what you should do? You should focus on boxing out. You should focus on fighting over screens.
You sound like Darwin Ham.
There's three things.
The problem's not me. The problem's not me. These guys aren't boxing out. I tell them box out.
No, I watched. Darwin Ham was right. They didn't box out. They were like, you, me, you, me, you, me. No, but so now Timberwolves are having some success, and suddenly everybody's like, and Cleveland's having some success, and Orlando with its big teams having some success. So suddenly everybody's like,
Denver's world champions.
You simply can't have a basketball team without two centers in the starting lineup. It's unfathomable. And so
they don't have to be two centers. They could be two power forwards.
Sure.
The whole thing is length, size, and athleticism.
What I'm thinking is the biggest mistake that Rob made during the summertime, his backup centers, one weighed 214 pounds and the other weighed 220. They didn't have a banger. They needed somebody to come in
guys that you can't move.
Needed somebody to come in for 15 minutes a game and bang. You know, somebody that could come in and play with the big boys, play a little defense, get some boards. I mean, I love Jackson Hayes' energy, but man, he could get moved. He got moved around easily. He didn't have enough in his back pocket. And Christian Wood.
I hope he stays, though. I
wouldn't mind seeing him stay, but I think
he doesn't fill that role. You're right, Michael. He doesn't fill that role. We need a guy who basically can. Jokic can't move,
or at least not as easy.
All right, it's a little bit after 1. I gotta go attend to a not feeling great 6.5-year-old. So I'd like to quickly get everybody's thoughts on the series that are still playing out in the NBA Finals. We'll start on the East Coast. We'll just move quickly through it. What do you guys? We'll start with Michael, and we'll move across. So
why don't we just do it rapid fire by just choosing the series, and then we'll all just.
That's what I'm going to do. That's exactly literally what I was saying. All right, so New York. I can't even remember who they're playing now. New York, Cleveland. No, it's Boston, Cleveland.
New York, Indiana.
New York, Indiana. Thank you, LRob. I was.
You know, if New York wasn't dealing with some injuries, I'd say New York, but I'm going to go with Indiana just because New York's getting really banged up.
Agreed. Now, Rob.
Yeah, same reason. If OG can't play, I mean, if OG comes back in Game 5, I can't see him playing tomorrow. But if he can come back in Game 5, I like the Knicks. Without OG, they have the Pacers should be ashamed of themselves if they lose to the Knicks without missing as many players as they're missing with OG out.
They're missing their starting lineup basically.
Yeah, I go with the Pacers. I go with the Pacers too.
I want to pick the Knicks because I really would like to see the city of New York be able to celebrate a championship on the basketball side. I think
they'll be able to celebrate the Yankees this year. So
that's like celebrating, Amazon. Oh, Amazon. Yay. Amazon. We love Amazon. Corporate America. Yay. But I have to agree. I think
next series.
No, well, I was just going to agree with you guys because they're missing Robinson, who's a beast, and I would love to get on the Lakers. Because they're missing Randall, which is an afterthought because he hasn't been around for months now, And because they're now missing OG, and I think you guys are right. I think it'd be a miraculous turnaround if he was back, even by Game 5. I think.
And Yanovich is out too. I mean,
dude, it's a starting lineup, right? Their starting 5 basically is out, and they're still, because Brunson is a wizard. They're still in it somehow. And I listen. Josh Hart has exceeded every expectation placed on that guy. I love Josh Hart. I love the way he plays. Tom Thibodeau is the perfect coach for Josh Hart. The two were made in a lab to play with one another, and so I think
he might come out being the best player in that trade after AD.
No joke, Tom. Absolutely no joke. No, I mean Lonzo can't stay on the court.
The injury to Lonzo.
He's done. Man. He's never played. He got Brandon Royd, unfortunately, and I feel for the man, but I just don't ever see him having a productive NBA career after this. I mean, I love that, like, minute 1 that he could pick up his player after. He was like, hey, I'm not going to keep anybody in suspense. I'm picking it up. Like, we know, bro. We know you're going to do it. Okay. Boston, Cleveland.
Cleveland. I can't pick Boston. I'm not going to pick Boston. Cleveland.
Boston.
I'm with you, Tom.
Boston is so jump shot dependent.
Yes.
At that, and even with
stars can't do it in the clutch, and they're missing their center.
Yeah, even when Porzingis is available, he is more of a perimeter scorer than he is interior.
But he can kill you in the interior.
They went cold against us in that second game. I watched that game. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I'm still got to go with them, but I mean, if they don't.
This is Donovan Mitchell's series. I think this is Donovan Mitchell's series.
Well, Donovan Mitchell has been tough. He really has been. And I want. Don't get me wrong. I want Cleveland to win. I'll be rooting.
Five that he has.
We're all trying to be quick here. You keep having interjections.
Well, okay. I go with Cleveland.
You already said Cleveland.
Yeah, Boston. Yeah, I mean, Boston gets
2 Bostons and 2 Clevelands.
Games they do miss. To me, I think they miss Porzingis' inside presence defensively more. I mean, they can get the scoring, but he at least offers some resistance defensively. Donovan Mitchell's fun. If Mobley can duplicate what he did, hopefully that'll at least make it a good series. But I'm not confident that he can. So.
Tatum ain't any game winners in this series.
Nobody thinks Jarrett Allen's coming back in this series, right? We think that he would probably. Like it. Doesn't sound like it. It never sounds like he's close to coming back. I mean, they could just one day say like, "Oh, he's back," and that would be a surprise to everybody, and maybe that's what they're going to do. But I think it would be a lot different if they had a healthy Allen, because I don't think that Boston would get a rebound in that case. You know what I mean? Like, I'm serious. Like, unless it just happened to bounce to Jaylen Brown or just happened to bounce to Tatum. And I have to say this. Jason Tatum hasn't really showed up in the playoffs. He's shooting a lot, but he's not making a lot.
It's the same old Jason Tatum.
That's right. So if there's a series that I think is right for an upset, I'm picking Cleveland, because, like Tom, I cannot pick Boston. It's just I
think Cleveland's got a shot. Cleveland's got a shot, man.
Tom, I don't know how fair that is. I think Tatum dropped 50
they definitely have a shot.
7 last year, didn't he?
He dropped 50.
Let's not act like he hasn't performed big in big games.
No, you're absolutely right. No,
he's struggled in closing some games.
He's one of those guys where you get certain matchups, man, he just disappears.
I think that he is bad. I think that I kind of disagree with that. I think that he's learned a lesson that few superstars learn, which is it's not all about me. He's learned to support Jaylen Brown, trust and support Jaylen Brown going for 30 or 40. Porzingis made that choice even easier. He's got great supporting cast as Drew Holiday. I forget the other guy off the bench who I like, but. And obviously Horford is, evidently an ageless troll of some sort, and is just going to continue to put up decent playoff numbers.
Continue to make that 3-point shot.
He's just going to keep hitting that corner three. He's everything everybody wishes PJ Tucker was. And so I have to pick Cleveland just because of my soul. All right, so now let's move to the best coast, the West Coast. It's not the best coast. It really there's all the coasts are wonderful. Seaside, the ocean is beautiful. Go see the ocean.
Hawaii's got some nice coast too,
Yeah, I'm surrounded by a coast.
Yeah, that's right.
Island, Michael.
You are a coast. You're a coast unto yourself. All right, so let's start with the more important series: Nuggets T-Wolves.
T-Wolves.
I want to go T-Wolves as well. I've been watching their defense. The length on their defense is a good. Oh, by the way, they've been watching Jaden McDaniel.
Yeah,
we had drafted Jaden McDaniel.
Jaden McDaniel, former Laker draft pick.
Yep.
Thank you, Dennis Schroeder.
Yep.
We talk about robbing his draft picks. You know?
This is exactly what we needed. Exactly what we needed.
So yeah, I'm going to go Minnesota.
All right. LRob?
Yeah, I'm gonna. I got to take Minnesota. They need to win game 3. I mean, they need to win game 4.
The Lakerholic sweep.
Yeah, it's hard to go this size. I mean, Anthony Edwards is just amazing. Listening to him after they lost, he was like, you know what? That's on me.
Yeah, took the blame for the whole thing. I love that.
I didn't come out aggressive enough, and they took it to us. They deserved it. Denver played their best game, and we'll see if they can duplicate it. But they had 3 days off. They had 3 days rest for Murray to get rested up and to come out. So now they got a 1-day turnaround, I think, for the rest of the series. So
yeah, and Murray even talked about in his post-gamer how in the fourth quarter his leg tightened up. So that doesn't bode well for them going forward. And you're absolutely right. I remember looking at the games yesterday and being like, wait, Denver, Minnesota isn't playing? Why did they get like 3 days off? Is this like, what? And so if I was a coach, I would have penciled that one in as a loss, as we like to talk about on the blog. All right, so we're all for Timberwolves.
It's a sweep.
Timberwolves and 6.
T-Wolves.
I mean, no, it won't be a sweep, but it'll be
all a sweep for 4.
Sure. We formed a cabal.
We're unanimous.
We can all hang out with Madonna now. We're part of a cabal. So let's just take that.
Hang out with Taylor Swift if we're that unanimous.
Or I mean, either one. I'm sure they're both a lot of fun at parties. All right. So, and now, of course, the series that nobody's talking about for some reason, even though it's got 2 of the most dynamic talents in the NBA, OKC versus Dallas. This is a hard one.
Yeah, it is a hard one.
I'm rooting for OKC, but Dallas is going to win.
I think the problem with OKC is something that they're going to have to address this summer is lack of size. They just don't
think they might have some picks to be able to do something about that.
You think so? I think they have half the draft picks for the next 10 years.
I thought they should have offered 10 picks for Wemby.
I would be surprised to see them
10 first-round picks for Wemby. Would you have traded him?
They won't trade him. You know who they'll trade for? Is what's his name, Laurie in Utah.
Yeah, they could get Markkanen. They could get, and that's who
I'd go for if I were them, because that's who I'd send all the Lakers draft picks.
That'd be a great pickup if they get.
If they got Markkanen and Holmgren, that would be dynamite. Yeah, that would be. That would be actually. I hope that doesn't happen.
I'm still going to go with. I'm going to probably go with Dallas simply because of the experience factor. They have a little bit more.
They made the best moves at the trade deadline of anybody.
Yeah,
They got 2 guys that I swear I must have asked for their center about 20 times in various trades that I made in Lakerholics.
I mean, let's find a player you haven't tried to trade.
Yeah, you've asked me right now.
It might take us some time.
Over there. I'm going to go with everybody else too. Give me just the experience, like Michael said, like LakerTom saying it. Luka is going to be hard to beat him. PJ, I mean, he had 7 or 8 threes. That was
thank God they didn't keep the guy that they sent in that.
Well, look at Kyrie. Kyrie is most experienced as far as
we're waiting on that Shea. We're waiting on that Shea moment. He's been good, but I'm waiting for him to give me one of those Ant-Man games, one of those Donovan Mitchell games. Give me one of those games where I'm the best player. We're not losing today.
Yeah,
I'm waiting on Shea to see if he has one of them in him. If he does, then I think OKC has a shot to pull it out. But we'll see.
I'm bucking trends here. Then I'm picking OKC, and I'll tell you why. I don't think Luka's knee is going to hold up. I think he's really dealing with I think that his knee and his whole left leg is not responding well to the playoff schedule. I think that he probably
and his teeth.
And his teeth. I think if this were the regular season, he'd be sitting.
Yeah, probably right.
And so that means it's fairly serious. And so I think that because OKC is just going to continue to ram it right down their throats every single game.
So you're really voting for the changing of the guard to happen.
I mean, even if Luka goes all the way, that's still a changing of the guard.
It's really incredible when you look at all of the list of the top highest paid 10 players in the league and who's left in the playoffs.
Almost none.
Almost like
it's shocking.
For the changing of the guard, it is happening
young man's
right
game, dude.
now.
It's always been a young man's game.
It's a real toss-up, really. I mean, injury could. I picked Dallas just because we're required to pick somebody.
Right.
It's a real toss-up. It's a real toss-up to me.
Yeah, I agree. But that's why I'm picking OKC, because if I'm looking at Luka.
Well, I'm rooting for OKC.
I don't really care. As long as one of them beats the Nuggets, I'm kind of fine. And as long as Boston doesn't.
You can watch a game without picking a team? Really?
What? I could watch a game without picking. Yeah, no, I don't.
I can't do that. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's even a kid's game. I got to pick somebody.
No, listen, this is so American right here. There's got to be a winner. There doesn't have to be a winner. I'm not invested in the community of Dallas. I'm not.
There are games where winners don't count, but there are also games where winners count.
All right, so I'd like to thank everybody from Lakerholics.com for coming on the show today. This was probably the slowest quick hitters of picks that we've ever had, but that's all right. We got through it. I think I'm going to take my kid to go to Staples on May 24th to see the Sparks versus Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, so that'll be exciting.
Cool.
I really love what's happening in women's sports. I've been a long-time fan of the Sparks. I would go to games when they would just let people into lower bowl of crypto.com. And it was very depressing because I was like, man, these are good players. Like they deserve.
You got to support women's basketball, man. If you're a basketball fan,
support the ladies in your life.
They're more fundamentally sound than the men.
Yep.
Well, I've been saying that for decades, dude. Like I've been saying that for decades. Like it's ridiculous the difference in skills. I think a lot of it is because they go to 3-4 years of college consistently, and so they develop fundamental skills, which that's a mind-blowing route to take for modern anything at all. So anyhow,
in a lot of ways. I mean, I was watching the other day. I went down to the courts. I don't play anymore, but I was just watching these games, and there were two girls playing in the guys' pickup game, and they were like the first and the fourth best players on that team.
There's very little gap. Unless the criteria is can you dunk, there's very little gap.
Wow, I mean, you don't see that often, no time. I mean,
anyway,
these girls were really
next guy, and Caitlin is definitely amazing from up here in Big Ten country.
Yeah.
I've seen her a lot, but usually, that's the best player.
Well, yeah, the professional level.
It used to be that there were no girls
pickup level
guys in the game.
Yeah.
Now you can go down to some of these courts, and there are girls who can wipe out most of the guys.
No doubt about it.
Pale Fox, you've been on fire today in the chat, by the way. I just want to shout out to everybody who's had some good one-liners out in the chat. I'd like to thank Joe Sorrell for being in the chat. I'd like to thank LRob, Michael H, LakerTom, also known as Tom, Rob, and Michael, myself, Jamie Sweet. We're some of those bloggers that don't hide behind like Snazzy 28 or go get 'em 62 or whatever. Like I'm like, no, it's just me. Like I'm just a person. I don't need a code name. Yeah. I'm not in a spy novel. I just have some thoughts. I'm gonna vomit them out on the world, and people think they're interesting. Fantastic. And if not, a couple other things: like and subscribe. If you rate podcasts wherever you watch, listen, engage with podcasts, wherever that may be, leave us a 5-star review, or Gerald's going to be super duper sad and be super bummed and not be able to go through the weekend without eating a lot of chocolate cake. So don't do that to Gerald. Let him stay on his diet. I don't even know if he's on a diet. I'm just talking out my ass here, like I do. Anyway, I really like to thank you all. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, everybody, and let's hope the Lakers don't pick JJ Redick. Bye bye. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I wanted it like that. Whoever they pick, whoever they choose, I should do this. Whoever they select, I'm sure the search will have been exhausting and thorough and super, super well organized and run by Rob Plinka. So I'm not worried at all. And if you don't know a sarcasm font when you hear one, you just did. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Take care. Aloha.
Go Lakers.